What up, Wizards? It's Deb from the place. Oh, and Igby is just now joining us. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Everybody likes to see Igby. He's huge. But anyway, guys, we got some more Final Fantasy previews for you today. Not a ton like we had the other day, but we do have like 6 or 7 that I wanted to show off, including one that like is the whole reason I'm really doing this video. As soon as I saw one of these cards, I was like, I'm getting on camera today, no matter what. But that said, it looks like previews are going to pick back up for real on Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to get a ton more cards, but again, for today, we don't have too much, but it's definitely enough to go through, and there's some exciting stuff, so let's get to it. Now, as usual, we're going to start with the commons and uncommons, but don't worry, there's good news on that front. There's only a couple of these cards today, and even better news piling on. So I think both of these cards are actually pretty good. I think you could make a case for both Town Greeter and Valkyrie Aerial Unit, but Town Greeter over here is 2 mana, it's 1 and a green for a 1/1 human citizen. When it enters, mill 4 cards. You may put a land from among them into your hand. If you put a town card into your hand, this way you get 2 lives. We've already seen Adventurers Inn, I think it's called. It's a colorless land, taps are colorless, comes into play untapped, and you gain 2 life when it does so. That's not too bad. You might play that in a monocolored deck, but we've got a much better town that we'll look at a little bit later in this video that actually I think this curves nicely with, but it's kind of a mulch on a body. It's not anything we haven't seen before. As a matter of fact, there's Blanchwood Prowler and another new creature from Tarkir Dragonstorm that I'm pretty sure has the exact same text box as Blanchwood Prowler. So it's not, again, like this is new or anything, but this mills 4. And a lot of the stuff we have in standard mills 3. And that matters a great deal to get, an extra card out of the deal. So I actually think this guy might be playable in certain graveyard decks or land-based decks or whatever. It doesn't seem so bad having a mulch that blocks. I'll take that some of the time, so I don't hate him. But next is Valkyrie Aerial Unit. Another decent card, man. 5 and 2 blue for a 5/4 construct with flying, and it has affinity for artifacts. When it enters, you surveil 2. So 7 mana, you'll never actually pay for it, I would assume. You'll probably try to pay 2 blue mana for this. This is another thing that we've kind of seen a version of recently in Ether Drift. There was like a 3/4 flyer. That was 5 and a blue or something like that with affinity for artifacts. I didn't see a whole lot of play, but it does see play in blue-white artifact decks, which are kind of like tier C in standard right now. So like they're kind of kicking, but now that we have effectively 8 like top-end flyers with affinity for artifacts, like maybe that deck will be a thing. I just really don't put this thing past seeing some amount of standard play, but I think in today's like the current power level we're working with, especially in this set from what we've seen so far, this is a little mid. Okay, so more news. There are, in fact, more than just a couple of commons and uncommons today, because as I reload Mythic Spoiler, 8 more cards just popped up in front of me. So let's look at all of these that we just got. There's Laughing Mad and Barret Wallace. Good to see him, but Laughing Mad is 3 mana, 2 and a red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast it, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and it has Flashback for 3 and a red. Okay, so just a Tormenting Voice that costs extra mana, but also has Flashback. The most exciting thing about this is the incredible art. Do you see Terra? Do you see Terra in there? And a bunch of other folks, as a matter of fact. Is that Ifrit? It might be Ifrit right there, but they're all coming out of Kefka's head. I don't know, that looks really, really freaking cool to me, but I'm not sure how great the card actually is. There's Barret Wallace over here, who I kind of have the same fears about. This is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 4/4 legendary human rebel with reach. Whenever he attacks, he deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending players. So, could be kind of neat. Could be cute. You know what I mean? If you have like 4 equipped guys and you're dealing a fair number of damage, but a fair number of damage, a good amount of damage, but I'm not sure how well this guy is actually going to hit like most of the time, right? I know that we saw a different Barret in the Commander stuff today, and we'll talk about the Commander stuff that we saw today, or at least my favorite cards from it, on stream this week. So check out twitch.tv/SPMTGDev. Join up over there, give us a follow, and on Thursday night, maybe we'll talk about my favorite Commander stuff. But as it is, the standard legal Barret does not look great to me, especially in standard, where you're really not going to have a whole lot of equipped dudes most of the time. But job select is a thing. Maybe this goes in the limited job select deck where you can actually hit for like 3 pretty reliably, with Barret. So maybe he's not so bad. But next is Circle of Power and Sage's Nelliths. Now, Circle of Power is 4 mana, 3 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 and you lose 2. Create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Wizard you control get +1/+1 or 0 and gain lifelink until end of turn. So Kind of a lot of stuff going on with this. I do like that the lifelink means that when they deal damage to opponents when you cast non-creatures, you'll gain life off of that. That's really cool. I like these little wizard tokens. There's one on Black Mage's Rod. Kuja makes these little tokens as well. I'm kind of hoping that we get to see more of them because they're really, really cool. But this card, in and of itself, probably cost a mana too much to truly be good. But Sage's Nowliths, Nowliths? I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't play much FF14. Maybe I should start. Is 2 mana. It's 1 and a blue for an artifact. It's an equipment that equips for 3, but it also has job select. Equipped creature gets +1/+0, has whenever this creature attacks, untap target attacking creature, and is a cleric in addition to its other types. Okay, so I've seen better job select stuff, but in limited, this is a common little tapper dude that only cost a couple of mana to get down in the first place, so, you know, could be all right. Basically gives a creature a form of vigilance, and it doesn't even have to be him. I said it's a tapper. It's because I think I may have misread it at first. But what it actually does is give a creature sort of vigilance and +1/+0. So, again, I'm not seeing too much playability. That's the word I'm looking for on this thing, but, you know, I'm willing to be wrong. Next, we'll move on to Zach Fair and White Aurasite. These... Look, let me just put it this way. Zach does in fact look fair. I think a lot of people wanted a really cool Zach card, and maybe we'll still get one, but this one is more interesting than powerful. A single white mana for a 0/1 legendary human soldier that enters with a +1/+1 counter. You can also pay 1 and sack him to have target creature you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Put Zach's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zach to that creature. Isn't that hilarious? And from a flavor perspective, this is actually really, really funny to me. But if you know anything about FF7, but what it actually kind of is like a selfless savior or whatever, you know, but it costs mana to activate. It's not Selfless Spirit or anything. You can't just sack it and give a creature indestructible, but that is a decent, okay activated ability, and I guess in like Agatha Soul Cauldron, you can give all your creatures the ability to sacrifice and then, like, I don't know, protect your really important guys, right? So, yeah, there might be something to this, but I kind of doubt it. I don't love having to pay mana to turn this into, you know, a creature that already exists in a couple of forms. That you don't have to pay mana to sacrifice. So, you know, I'll say that the activated ability is kind of strong. I'm just not sure if you're going to actually use it. It's a soldier. 1-drop soldier. Might be worth something. White Aurasite is 4 mana, 2 and 2 white for an artifact. When it enters, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until this thing leaves the battlefield, and it taps for a white. So totally normal artifact here. I think maybe some commander decks might play it. I mean, it's a mana rock. That's also a removal spell, which could be okay in your very particular standard deck, but I just don't see a mono white deck that would want to play this, to be honest. There are things that, like, you might want to ramp into in mono white even after turn 4, right? But honestly, I think you just play Biza or Day of Judgment or both, or Overlord of the Mistmoors or any of the other like ridiculous 4-drops that we have in standard over a card like this. But a rock that removes stuff is not too bad. But next, final uncommon of the day is Phoenix Down over here. A single white mana for an artifact. Pay 1 and a white, tap it and exile it to choose 1. Return target creature card with converted mana cost, well, mana value. We switched forever ago, Dev. Return target creature card with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Or you can also exile target skeleton, spirit, or zombie if you'd rather do that. So really super cute use of Phoenix Down. You know, in game you can often, you know, obviously the use for Phoenix Down is to revive a dead party member, but in case you didn't know, occasionally you can toss it at undead creatures, and depending on the hit rate in the game that you're playing, whether or not they're immune to it, a Phoenix Down will actually kill an undead creature. So really cool flavor. I like the way they did this, and honestly, it's not a bad card either. The reanimation mode on it is especially good, and if they print any amazing like skeletons or spirits or zombies or whatever, I guess this has an extra mode on it, right? So really do like what they did with the place. But let's move on to Astrologians Planisphere here. I'm going to call our next rare the first rare of the day. I'm lying to you. This is actually our first rare of the day. Astrologians Planisphere. That was harder to say than I anticipated. It's 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an artifact. It's an equipment that equips for 2, but it also has job select. Equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types, and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, okay, for just 2 mana, a guy that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets a counter is okay. It's really not the worst thing I've ever seen for just a couple of mana. And obviously, even if they kill the token that it comes on, you've still got it sitting around. You know, you just plug it in to like any creature that you have, and suddenly that dude can get huge, like really fast, depending on like how many spells you're casting, how many cards you're drawing, humana. So it's just really, this could actually get out of hand pretty quick. I'm not sure that it's like fantastic in standard or anything, but you know, again, especially in Commander, I think there could be a real home for this. But back to standard again, like it comes with a body on it. Because like you dare them to kill it, and even if they do kill the body or whatever, like you've still got the Planisphere, and I think that might actually matter, you know? Like if they want to get rid of this forever, you kind of effectively 2-for-1 them, and I like that about it. Just all of these job select things look okay. I've already said I kind of like Black Mage's Rod, but it just looks cool to me, the kind of player I am. This actually looks like it might be a sneakily good Magic card. But we'll move on to Esper Origins here. 2 mana, 1 green for our first rare of the day. It's a sorcery. Surveil 2, you gain 2 life. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, exile it, put it onto the battlefield transformed under its owner's control with a finality counter on it, and you can cast it from your graveyard with its flashback cost, which is 3 and a green, and you get Terra's dad right here. Interestingly, to see what's up with Terra's dad, you have to ask, how's your ma doing? Hey, so worst joke in the video probably, but I've been waiting 30 years to make it, so I'm going to take my chance. Now, this is one of them enchantment creature sagas. This one's an elemental. It's a 4/4, and on chapter 1, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, put that sucker into your hand, and then on chapter 2, you're going to ramp 2 green mana. And on chapter 3, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So, okay, when you flip it over, you get some card advantage, and then some ramp, and then an overrun effect. Just everything that green wants to do. There may be some kind of graveyard-based deck that wants this in standard, but it's going to take some convincing, at least on my part, you know. I think maybe you can leverage the life gain in some decks, and if nothing else, gaining the life gives you some breathing room to cast the card on turn 2 in the first place. Plus, it can kind of fix your next couple of draws. I say kind of, it can definitely fix your next couple of draws to get you to that split up, temporary lockdown, Brotherhood's End, like whatever you need to sweep the board and keep the game going so you can actually get to Esper Origins. But I'm not sure that this card's going to go in decks like that necessarily, you know? More control-based decks, I think this card actually goes in decks that play creatures pretty obviously. You need a lot of permanence in your deck for the first ability to pop off. You need something to ramp into, and you need creatures to actually use the overrun mode on. So I'm not sure what decks play that many permanents and yet still want to play a 4-of sorcery in the main deck. But it could work out. There's obviously a lot of graveyard decks that will never actually cast the front half of the card. They'll just throw it into their graveyard with some sort of mill or discard effect, and then get the Matoya half of it later in the game. So I could see this being pretty decent, but again, I need to see like the cards that are around it. We also got to see Ishgard the Holy Sea from Final Fantasy XIV here. This is a town that enters tapped, and it taps for a white mana, but it also has Faith and Grief as an adventure. This is 5 mana, it's 3 and 2 white for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. That is wild. That is wild for most white decks in Commander, you know, like all your good stuff is artifacts and enchantments, especially enchantments. You know, you got your Cassia's Welcomes, and you got your Trouble in Pairs, and you got your Smother and Ties, and you got your blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like all the way down to like Blind Obedience and Authority of the Consoles. There are a ton of like Ghostly Prison, you know, like you could sit here and name really, really heavily played mono white enchantments like basically all day. And you can get back like your mana rocks and stuff if that's what you want to do with this, but a lot of Commander decks will also play a couple of big old artifacts, and if they ever get sent to the yard, this is an easy way to get them back, just kind of unpunished. There's some opportunity cost to this because you can't play all the tap lands in the world, even in Commander, but it's very, very low opportunity cost. This seems like a great card to me for not just mono white Commander decks, but you know, any deck with white in it is probably going to play some number of enchantments, like your white blue deck. Okay, I get back my Mystic Remora now. I get back my Rhystic Studies. Again, there's a lot to do with this. Also, a thing I have to point out about all these lands that have adventure modes that I haven't really pointed out yet is that anything that bounces lands back to your hand is going to be really, really good with these. You know, we've already seen like Zell from this set. He's red, right? But he pops a land to your hand every single turn. So you can pop back Ishgard, you can play the adventure half, play it to the table, and then just pop it back to your hand to play the adventure half again whenever you need to do that. There's a lot of tricks. Anything you can use to bounce a land is going to make any of these like fantastic. But again, this is the best one we've seen so far, to my mind. But we're not quite done with rare lands yet, because we also got Starting Town. This is a land. It's a town. It enters tapped unless it's your first, second, or third turn of the game. You can also tap it for a colorless mana, but here's the deal. You can tap it and pay a life to add a mana of any color. So it's a city of brass. It just is a city of brass. I think a lot of people are going to call it a city of word I can't say on YouTube because it's just strictly worse than city of brass in some ways, or a pretty obvious way, but I call it city of grass. Because you better puff pass this thing to me, son. I want to play it in my decks, especially my standard decks. They just don't really have a big option for this. An untapped land that produces any color mana. That's literally insane for standard. It's like, I don't care if it enters tapped after the third turn. I'll just play it before that, or it enters tapped after. Yeah, I said it right. It's tapped after the third turn. I'll play it on turn 1, 2, or 3. I mean, I feel the same way about all these fast lands that are in standard that want you to have it, 2 lands or fewer in play when you play them for them to come into play on tap. Those see all the play in the world. So will this. This makes like multicolored aggro so much easier, which is probably where you're going to see this a good bit of the time. But multicolored midrange and even control decks can still leverage this like really, really well. So amazing little land here that's probably going to see a ton of play in standard before it's all said and done. But it does a damage to you when you tap it. Actually, in that way, it's better than City of Brass. You can tap this for a colorless and it doesn't hurt you. That's actually an upgrade from that card, but also, you care about that? What's it like to be worried about every little thing, man? I will take great power at a cost, and this is a fairly low cost. But next, my favorite freaking card of the day, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of people's favorite freaking card of the day, and by the way, she's also wearing a hat. This is Matoya Archon Elder here. 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature. She's a human warlock. Whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card. Okay, so that's actually a dumb line of text. Like, in the good way, like you want. I'm not sure. I want to go ahead and throw this out here. That this is very good in standard. Although we do have a fair number of like lands in standard. You just play them and they scry or surveil for you, and she just draws you a card because you dropped a land. That could be leverageable in standard, obviously, but I think that this is really good in the 99 of a bunch of commander decks, man. First of all, there you can use all those same lands if you want to, and you can even use stuff like Rivendell if you want to, and you'll have a legendary creature in play for Rivendell because you got a Matoya. You can also, I guess there's one trick for standard I wanted to point out, and that's Gossip's Talent. I guess that's fine. You draw a card immediately when Matoya or any creature comes into play. Let's kind of go. But as far as commander goes, and I guess you can do Gossip's Talent there too if you wanted. But on the surveil side, there's stuff like, Eloise is a really good like commander for something like this. Takasia, the Bant Takasia that has, gives all your creatures tap surveil 1 or whatever. That seems very dumb for Matoya to kind of be lurking in the 99 of that deck. And then I guess like Aminatu does a lot of surveilling too. But on the scry end, there's a lot of fun stuff too, like specifically stuff from the Lord of the Rings set. Like a lot of the elves in Simic from Lord of the Rings care about scrying. So you've got like Elrond, which is, again, like whenever a creature comes into play, you just get to draw a card. That's great. Galadriel cares about scrying a little bit. And then my favorite, though, is not one of those Lord of the Rings cards. It's actually Zaphi Thunder Conductor. This is sick because, like, if you have a Matoya on the table, it just turns Zaphi into, like, an Archmage Emeritus. That also makes creatures sometimes, and that seems like a pretty good combo. So Matoya's got kind of a lot to do. Like, in the right blue commander deck, this is just... It's going to draw you more cards in Rhystic Study. Just because you cast like a Consider, you get to draw a card now. That seems great. But there's a ton of effects that just allow you to like scry every single turn. She's obviously ridiculous with those. And you could build a mono blue Matoya deck and throw in your command zone if you wanted. I just think she works better in the 99 of a bunch of decks because there's a lot of effects that just incidentally scry already that she's really, really good with. And I think you just want something actually strong in your command zone that ends games. I'm not sure that Matoya does that, but, card could shut me up real quick. I'm really glad Matoya does what she does, man. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, kind of low-key, and I know the card says Final Fantasy 14, and I'm aware she's in that game, but I know Matoya all the way back from Final Fantasy 1, y'all, when she's like blind because she doesn't have her crystal. You got to find her crystal for her, and that's cool. And also, there's brooms in her little room there that if you talk to them, they tell you how to access the map. Do you remember when games had the stones to gate something as important to gameplay as access to the world map behind a random character you may or may not ever talk to? Video games We used to have a proper country, but it was called Japan. But anyway, that's all we've got for today, except for, I guess, this Sir Conrad over here dressed up as Golbez from Final Fantasy IV, and that's awesome. It's illustrated perfectly by Amano, as usual. He's been doing bang-up work this whole set, man. But in any case, this looks really cool, and I gotta say, Sir Conrad is a creature I kind of jam with on a daily basis. He's in like all of my Aristocrat Commander decks, so gonna see if I can snag a copy of this card. Kind of depends on how much it's gonna set me back, but I do love Golbez, and he's looking slick. But either way, that's all we got for this one. Just let me know how you felt about everything down there in the comments section. Your favorite Matoya tricks, that Scry or Surveil. I want to know all of them, because we're building that deck. We're building a lot of decks from this one. I have been trying to build a Kuja deck. I don't even know if that's how you say his name, but I've been trying to build Kuha for the last couple of days, because that seems like an awesome commander. And Vivi, obviously, everyone's building their Vivi commander deck because he looks so busted. But anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff in the set already, and we haven't even seen half of it yet. I am excited for this one. If you cannot tell, I'm a giant Final Fantasy nerd. But anyway, guys, there's going to be a lot more previews coming up here soon, so make sure you sub to the Meatball, and also check out the thumb button down there. If you press it, something happens. That's what I hear. You can also check out the Patreon. We have one of those Patreons. If you give me money, the videos get slightly better. They get like 0.5% better with each new patron that we get. So if you want the videos to be really good, check out the Patreon. But anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. Just hit me up in the comments section. Let me know how you felt about the goings on, and I will catch you cats later. I'm Dev from the Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.